And there's never been a better time to be in the market for a 7-seater MPV. Previously, to get into this segment, you'll have to fork over some serious cash for a mid-size SUV like the Montero Sport or the king of MPVs, Toyota Innova, which are all diesel-fed, truck-based vehicles. Now, they do have gasoline variants, but the aforementioned ladder-on frame structure makes them so heavy that fuel economy would often take a hit. Now, the past few years saw an exponential growth in the compact MPV segment, which many people initially thought would crash and burn, because we were so used to what diesel engines can offer that the thought of having a gasoline-powered 1.5-liter engine carrying 7 people is beyond laughable. As it turns out, 1.5 liters is actually the sweet spot. The Mitsubishi Xpander, first introduced and released in the Philippines back in 2018, was a phenomenal hit for the brand. It featured a futuristic and funky style that was reminiscent of the Nissan Juke, with the fog headlights on top and the actual headlamps right at the bottom, and introduced us to Mitsubishi's current dynamic shield design philosophy. Now, for a time, it even rivaled the Mirage as the brand's best-selling vehicle. 2020 has been a rough time for basically everyone in the entire world, even more so for car companies. But that didn't stop the Diamond brand from introducing a sort of sequel to its best-selling Xpander. This is the 2020 Mitsubishi Xpander Cross.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 niggas wanna war, 10 niggas on the floor, 11 niggas on the porch, 12 killers wanna war, 13 carnivores, 14 labradors, 15 dinosaurs, 16 avatars, 17 bombs and grenades at your rental car, 18 ways.
Before we continue, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and click on the notification icon to alert you whenever we upload a new video. I try my best to release at least one video a week, so I promise you won't be spammed at all. I know a lot of you are watching my videos and I appreciate it very much. Thank you for your support, and if you love our videos, make sure to smash that like button and leave a comment down below to let me know how I'm doing. Now, back to the show. The Xpander Cross can be considered a sequel to the groundbreaking MPV, the same way that Captain America's Civil War is to Avengers Age of Ultron. It's not really a sequel, but more of a follow-up to the blockbuster movie. There's been a lot of grumbling and complaining around the car community talking about how Mitsubishi doesn't care about the consumers and its fans with how they let go of the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution and even the Eclipse. The Xpander Cross is proof that this is only just partly true. The exterior features pretty much the same silhouette as the vanilla Xpander, but Mitsubishi gave it a workout plan and gave it a beefier and much more butch appeal. The fascia still features that obnoxiously huge dynamic shield, but has a more boxy design that mimics the new Montero Sport. The cheeks that house the actual headlamps have a more 90-degree angle to it instead of the diagonal design on the OG Xpander. The Cross also has a Meteor Foss skid plate underneath, as well as a more prominent fog lamps. Now, this design harkens back to those Dakar Pajeros of old, with aftermarket fog lamps installed for good measure. The black chrome grille literally has more teeth than its tamer sister, featuring teeth-like ridges on the grille instead of a sweeping design, and of course it's flanked by those signature LED daylight running lights. The overall look of the front fascia just gives the Xpander Cross a meaner look. Now, while the entry-level Xpander offers nothing to write home about when it comes to its side profile, the Cross addresses this concern in spades. Taking a page out of the Banaue Tito Starter Pack playbook, the most apparent difference would be those integrated plastic fender moldings and body panels. Nothing screams rugged more than plastic body panels, right, Volvo? Filling those arches are these 5-spoke machine 17-inch mags shot in 205, 55, R17 Dunlop and the saves. I believe that Xpander Cross can benefit from wider tires or better offset because, to be honest, when looking at those wheels from behind, it kinda looks like it's running on stilts. I couldn't complain much though because the design of those 17-inch mags look absolutely perfect and blends well with the overall look. It has a floating roof design with a slight kink at the rear window panel, which in white is just perfect for the Xpander Cross. I would have appreciated it more if the chrome in the side mirrors and the door handles were blacked out, but that's just my personal preference. If the side profile is more of a hit and miss situation for me, Mitsubishi redeems itself with the rear section. This is probably one of the more beautiful hatch implementations in my book. It integrates that floating roof design quite well with the LED L-shaped tail lamps. A large third brake lamp adorns a simple yet discernible integrated ducktail spoiler up top, and the glass seemingly carries over to the middle section of the panel thanks to a piano black rear bar that ties the tail lamps together. Mitsubishi also did not forget about adding another integrated skid plate which even houses a rear fog lamp. The exhaust pipe is hidden underneath the skid plate, in case you were wondering. I just wish I could show you how huge this rear hatch is and test the rear cargo space, as well as show you how high the loading area would be for huge luggage, but the test unit seems to be broken. Mind you, this is Mitsubishi's test unit, so a lot of the reviewers have been breaking this in, and I don't think this is going to be a quality concern in regular folks such as us, and we shouldn't be too worried about this too much. That's what warranties are for anyway. Inside, the Xpander Cross features pretty much the same as the vanilla model, although for the price, I wish it had more. The leather seats coupled with the burgundy black theme of the inside add a bit of a more luxe to an otherwise drab interior. What really caught my attention was the layered dashboard that has a pleather texture to it, complete with simulated stitching to complete the look. It works well and looks properly put together, just as long as you don't start touching it. I personally would have wanted some soft touch material on it, but at least it would be easy to clean, which is a plus, especially for its target market, families and their extended members. Getting into the car is a breeze thanks to those huge wide opening doors, and even though this is the lifted version of the Xpander, getting in and out shouldn't be a problem. But if you have tiny legs, you would have wished for a step board. It shouldn't be a problem, it's not that lifted, and again, those huge doors are a real plus. This car is marketed as a 7-seater, but if you're of my size, 5'10" and a half, you would want to stay away from the third row. Sure, it has cup holders, chargers, but that's just best left for the kids. Thankfully, you do have the ability to slide the second row seats, so adjustments on the fly are possible. If you want to use the Xpander Cross as a workhorse, you can even tumble the second row forward and fold the rear seats, giving a really massive expanse, which is perfect for all you plantitos and platitas out there with your weekly haul from your favorite garden store. Now you've got a flat floor, and I cannot stress the importance of this enough. Feet and leg room is outstandingly ample, and if you're free to lounge around in the second row with its huge center armrest. It's not the captain seats that I would have wanted, but it works great. Plus you have rear air vents to cool your passengers in horrible Manila traffic. If you have 2 or 3 kids, this car is just perfect. Take this out on the road trip and you get that same Mitsubishi Adventure vibe. I think Mitsubishi nailed it in this one. Now comes my favorite seat in the house. Sadly, it doesn't have any driver center armrests. What you do get is the center console that's with a sliding door for you to lose all your knickknacks in. It's a huge cubby hole that you can basically call the black hole, because I bet you will lose a few coins or keys in there. It lacks any sense of organization in there, and it's just one huge void. You do have 2 great cup holders in the middle, which is great, but I still miss the center armrest for those long, weary drives. The steering wheel has audio and cruise control, and it has reach and rake function to help you find your perfect driving position. Now you can adjust the driver's seat to go forward and back, up and down, and recline as well. And the controls are easy to reach. It doesn't have automatic climate control, but it has these huge chunky dials that provide good feedback. You won't have any surprises here. If you get cold, just dial it down, you're good to go. The touchscreen infotainment screen does not have any Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, but you find a way to mirror your phone into it. I just wish that the latter were available, so all you have to do is plug and play, but instead you'll have to find the right app and pray that it mirrors your phone screen. Now that display shows the backup camera with position estimators, which can help you out with parking and avoid backing up into something that can damage your car. The analog gauge cluster is brightly illuminated in a sporty white theme and flanks a nice digital display giving you various details about your drive, but more importantly, it gives you a temp gauge. I thank the high heavens that they have not left this part out. You see, I have a personal crusade against leaving this tiny bit of information out. Cars nowadays, mostly subcompacts, leave out the temp gauge and instead gets replaced by a temperature indicator. So it's going to be too late to know that your car is overheating. Apart from the fuel gauge, the temp gauge is a total must-have for any other car, because trust me, after that 10 to 15 year mark, and you will reach that mark, no matter how good you maintain your car, something's gonna give and things are gonna get hot. Let's get to the drive. The Xpander Cross is powered by the 4A91 engine. It's a 1.5 liter dual overhead cab engine with the electronic fuel injection, an aluminum block and head, and powered by Mitsubishi's own brand of variable valve timing technology called MyVec. It makes 105 not so macho caballos at 6,000 RPM and 141 Nm of torque. Now on paper that doesn't sound like a lot, and it isn't. But there is something about today's horses that seem to be so much different from the horses 20 or even 10 years ago. It's surprisingly sprightly for what it can offer, and given there's only myself and another person inside, it was able to pull our lockdown enhanced behinds through main roads, bends, and even steep inclines without absolutely no problems. This is no speed demon, mind you, but I'm surprised it has enough grunt, but is refined enough to drive as well. Thanks to the large windows, visibility is excellent, with nary a blind spot to speak of. You also get a commanding view of the road thanks to the ride height and the seat position. I usually set my seats to the lowest possible settings, but my perception of the surroundings are still unimpeded. I'm used to driving a Montero Sport, and I can most certainly say this one gives me a similar sense of confidence. The NVH, or noise, vibration, and harshness, is also good, thanks to its monocoque design, which is to say car-like structure and not body on frame like a truck, as well as the lack of a diesel engine. It's smooth and drama-free. It still has a traditional 4-speed automatic transmission, and I wouldn't be dreaming of a manual for this car. I just wish it had a more advanced transmission system. But again, this is no enthusiast car. It's a single-purpose vehicle that has one purpose in mind, and that's to be a family car. Looking good while being one isn't a crime at all. You won't be tearing down the streets with this or heading over to a track. There are no pretenses whatsoever of the Xpander Cross being a sporty car. Well, except of course for the body kit, the cladding, the ride height, but not the speed, okay? Now I know what you're thinking. How's the fuel economy on this tiny gasoline engine? My assessment is the fuel economy on the Xpander Cross is just excellent. As I bring the car up to Antipolo, pushing the revs hard to keep up with the power band, it still gives me around 9 kilometers per liter, which is amazing for what this car is. Those may not be subcompact figures, but you don't get punished of being relegated to a small penalty box. Instead, you get to enjoy the space of a 7-seater, and of course the power is not bad at all. This all brings me to this week's point. With the competition being as it is from the likes of the more traditional body-on-frame Toyota Rush, you got the Honda BRV, and even the onslaught of highly capable Chinese offerings like the hybrid Geely Okavango or the turbocharged Maxus G50, and you also have the Suzuki XL7. What's the Xpander Cross's main selling point then? It sells familiarity. The Xpander Cross banks on being the spiritual successor of the iconic Mitsubishi Adventure. You remember those Top Gear Philippines renders of the Adventure? The Philippine market is dying for Mitsubishi to release a modern take on the Adventure, and this is Mitsubishi's answer to that. Given it's no longer a diesel, but everything about the Xpander Cross screams adventure. You know, basic engine, check. Basic transmission, check. Lack of toys and gadgets, check. I mean, sure, it has cruise control and the touchscreen, but those things come basic. I don't even talk about ABS and airbags anymore, as well as seatbelts and ISOFIX sensor, because those items should come as standard as the wheels that come with a car. It also comes complete with body claddings, that far rugged appeal that the Adventure had back in the day. It's funny that we call out the Xpander for being too much of a Montero Sport wannabe, when back then the Adventure was similarly touted as something that aspires to be a Pajero Fieldmaster. Nostalgia holds a lot of cachet in the market, that it even has its own niche segment where modern cars look to its roots when it comes to design and execution. The Xpander Cross does not have the same toys as more modern 7-seaters, but it's the devil, you know, that you will have to live with. I started the review ready to hate on the Mitsubishi Xpander Cross. It didn't even start on the right foot when I wasn't able to open up the rear hatch, but after getting to know the car better, driving it and not giving it any second chances, it redeemed itself quite well. Like all of Mitsubishi's efforts, it's not perfect. It's not even the best of its segment. It's got me hooked. Now, I want one. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.